Some stories stay with you forever. They don't just haunt your nights. They follow you into the quiet moments, creeping into your thoughts when you least expect them, whispering, taunting. This is one of those stories. I was there, and to this day, I wish I wasn't. Deep in the Hurtgen forest, where the trees rise like towering tombstones and the air feels suffocating, thick with the weight of the fallen, there's a place that should have been left buried, forgotten. But we found it. And what we found there, it was late 1944. The war had become a relentless nightmare, each day more brutal than the last. We were worn down, exhausted, pushing through the Hurtgen forest like ghosts, fighting not just the enemy, but the very earth beneath our feet. Then came the order, a routine mission. 7 men, including myself, sent to scout an old bunker. Just another cold, lifeless relic of war. Or so we thought. As soon as we stepped inside, everything changed. The air wasn't just cold, it felt wrong, like stepping into a grave that had been left open for far too long. The cold seeped into our bones, but it wasn't just the temperature. It was something deeper, something unnatural. Everything inside was frozen in time, untouched. Helmets, rifles, even half-smoked cigarettes, left behind as though the men had vanished in an instant, like they'd been erased. At first it was just a feeling, a pressure, an invisible weight pressing down on my chest, a feeling like the bunker itself was watching us. I couldn't shake it. It made my skin crawl. And then the whispers began. My name, I heard it. Soft at first, barely a whisper, but unmistakable. At first, I thought it was one of the guys playing a trick on me, but when I turned, their faces told me everything. They heard it too. That's when Sergeant Keller snapped into action. He ordered us to spread out and check the rooms. But the deeper we went, the more the bunker seemed to swallow us whole, pulling us in like it didn't want to let us go. Private Bauer found the first sign, strange symbols, carved deep into the walls. They weren't German, they weren't anything we recognized. They looked like something out of a nightmare. At first, he tried to laugh it off, but nobody joined in. We were too far gone, too far into something we couldn't understand. And then, the lights flickered. That's when the screaming began. It wasn't human. It came from the walls themselves, from the stone. It was like the entire bunker was alive, screaming at us, taunting us. It wasn't a sound. It was an attack on our minds. Corporal Reiner was the first to break. His rifle fell to the ground. His hands shook like leaves in the wind. He whispered something over and over. "They're here. They're all here." His voice was barely audible, but it was enough to make the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I grabbed him, shook him, tried to get him back to reality, but when he looked up at me, his face, pale as death, his eyes, I'll never forget those eyes, filled with pure, raw terror. Then we saw it, a shadow, standing at the end of the corridor. It didn't move, didn't breathe, but its eyes were like burning embers, watching us, staring right through us. Sergeant Keller didn't hesitate. "Fire!" he screamed. We emptied every round we had, but the thing didn't flinch, didn't even blink. Then, to our horror, it smiled. The lights went out, and the screaming, it became unbearable. I don't know how we made it out. We ran. No, we fled. We ran like hell itself was on our heels, like the very earth beneath us was trying to swallow us whole. But the bunker didn't want to let us go. The hallways stretched on forever. Doors disappeared. We turned, we sprinted, but the walls, they were closing in. The whispers became shrieks, screaming our names, calling us, begging us, accusing us. Then I felt it. A hand, cold, wet. It grabbed my wrist. I swung around, but there was nothing but the frost creeping up my skin, spreading like veins of ice. I don't know how we got out. One moment, we were trapped in that nightmare, the next. We were stumbling through the snow, gasping for air like we had just clawed our way out of the depths of hell. We sealed the bunker, boarded it up, covered it with earth, and we never spoke of it again. But some nights, when the world is too quiet, I still hear the screams. The Hurtgen forest still stands, and if you listen, really listen, you might hear them too. Some say war leaves behind ghosts. Others say it opens doors to things that should never be touched. Me? I don't know what we encountered that night, but I pray to God I never find out. And if you ever find yourself near the ruins of that old bunker, and you hear a whisper that sounds like your name, don't look back. Have you ever experienced something unexplainable with your friends? A moment that still haunts you to this day? Share your story in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more terrifying stories. And if you enjoyed this, leave a like and comment. It really helps the channel grow.